Episode 41 of the Long Haul Podcast. Another week goes by. We got a few more patches and a few more notes, and we are here to bring you all the news and our opinions on what's going on in the scene. I'm Nine. I'm joined, as always, by my buddy Kerry. How are you doing, dude?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a very busy week. Haven't had too much time to play. Let's put it like that. Still trying to be active in the discussions. But a relatively slow week in the hobby front, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So you've been craving for like your typical food, I hear.
Oh man, yeah. With the whole Corona situation and me missing a few flights to go back home, actually, I've actually been really craving some Portuguese food, man. I was trying to find a local restaurant, but apparently I found something on Google that doesn't exist anymore. Because I went down to this place that I found online and then got there and it just wasn't there. It wasn't even closed. It just wasn't there anymore. So maybe it was a victim of the crisis. Who knows? I don't know, but dude, man, yeah, I got a flight to go back home this month, so cool. It's fine. Yeah, but other than that, just busy doing what a man's got to do to put food on the table, and
man got to do what a man got to do.
Exactly. All right, so I think before we do as we did last week and talk about Blue Heroes, we wanted to go through what Valve posted regarding the Green Hero survey results. At this point, probably most people have seen this, but so some interesting stuff there that maybe not everyone was expecting. There's the obvious overall miss of Dragon Knight and Dazzle. I think we said that. I think most of the people in the beta would agree that those heroes were a failure. But a couple of interesting comments regarding Farven and Treant.
That's a strong word, man. They're overall misses. They're not failures. You're not allowed to use that word.
Yeah. All right. They need a redesign, let's put it like that. And they admit as much in terms of their identity and in terms of overall gameplay. These heroes really aren't doing what they need to do. But I wanted to specifically touch on Farven and Treant Protector because they say Farven has an interesting position. They think that he's easy to understand, straightforward to play. I completely agree. And his power level seems to be decent. But his signature is not particularly exciting. And what's your opinion on Farven, man?
Okay, so I know it's not particularly exciting, but the card is really strong. So to make it like exciting and strong, it's like such a hard formula. I feel that Farven was really well rebuilt. He's really strong when you have like three other minions on the table. He normally is able to one shot heroes a little bit like mid game. So I think Farven is like, in my opinion, the second best basic hero rework. Debbie being my first pick. I know it's gonna be really hard if they're gonna try and change the card. Because the balance between being good and being exciting might be really delicate, and they might even make it worse just to make it exciting. So I don't know how they plan to change him, because I feel that he's really strong as he is. Yes, it's true he's not very exciting, but at least it's a 2/4 now, and it was really lame before. It was just like mid shield before, and now it actually does something else. It kills creeps. So I don't know. I feel that it's going to be really hard for them to balance around being good and exciting.
Yeah, for me, Farven right now feels like it kind of feels like what a basic hero should be. But at the same time, he compares in terms of fun, kind of compares poorly to Debbie and to Keith, I think. Just in the sense that those heroes are they're kind of more dynamic, right? And Farven is more of a stationary guy that you just want to buff up. But it kind of represents kind of what Green is trying to do, right? So I think in that sense, like you said, it feels decently, and in the mid game, it's often relatively easy to make him be a big boy. Yeah, I mean, in some sense, Keith and Jamui get active abilities, and then Farvan and Debbie get passive abilities, and it kind of feels somewhat that like what is missing to have better flavor is the just like maybe an active ability. The other thing to say is actually that Ice Frog apparently removed Farvan from Dota. So like Farvan used to be a creep camp in Dota, and apparently it's been removed in the latest patch.
He's been removed?
Yeah, completely removed. It's not in Dota anymore.
Oh, wow. So that is a lot of hate for... Wow.
Yeah, well, that's beside the point. I mean, that's like Lich having Sacrifice, which is no longer an ability in Dota anymore.
And Dota, yeah.
It's beside the point. It will be interesting to see what they can do here to make him more exciting. Yeah, I mean, do you just buff his power more? Do you make his card cheaper? It's hard to say. It's also true that like his card used to be good to make boards wide, and now it's just like armor is worth less, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally not as good.
And you cannot go wide as you used to. So in that sense, the card feels a bit less good, kind of. But it's hard to judge, yeah. So it's interesting to me. I rated Farvan like kind of average when I
yeah, same. Well, actually, I rated him 4. Gave him a 4 almost on everything because I feel he's pretty good, but he's not perfect, but he's pretty good. And it's like you said, he's like the poster boy for how a basic hero should be.
Yeah. What about Treant, man? Treant's been a hero where I think when I first saw him, I thought this guy's going to be really exciting because he looks good, he's a good offlane placement, etc. But having played him, it just feels like even if he stalls the board completely, he's just doing so little damage that he feels like he needs a lot of... like he doesn't do much by himself, let's put it like that. Like he'll stall a lane for you, he'll give everyone armor and make them really tough to die, but at the same time he's like hardly pushing, so he what he really needs is some like extra help to push, which could be fine. But it's interesting that people really consider him a miss. And I think also some of the problems in the survey is like it's very easy to compare heroes, and that's actually, I mean, the easiest way to rate heroes is compare them to other ones. And when you look at like Underlord, for example, Underlord, if you draw his card and you place it on him, he does effectively the same as Treant. Like he will stall the lane up because you trade creeps favorably. The main difference being that with Atrophy Aura, your Underlord or whatever hero has it becomes really strong because he keeps gaining attack buffs. And I mean I've seen heroes reach 15 attack and stuff like that with Atrophy Aura, and that's probably the sort of type of excitement that Treant is kind of missing, and also the fact that his abilities in Dota relate poorly to the abilities in...
I mean, Treant Protector with with Atrophy Aura is like the ultimate screw you lane.
It's just pure stall. It almost kind of makes you wish that he had some sort of healing or some sort of rooting ability, because he has the big root in Dota, right?
Yeah, the drain life. And the root is his ultimate, right? He roots everything, yeah.
And then his card as well, like it's just like if you play it early in the game, your opponent will most of the time just kill the dude, the Roseleaf Druid with the hero deploy or something. The card's very flimsy. I think they wanted to avoid having mana ramp be too strong. But also the card has been overall feeling not very exciting, I would say.
Yeah, so it used to give you the mana instantly, and now it just it gave you the shard. It didn't give you the filled up shard when you played it. Now you only get +1 mana if it survives, and it's like it's easy to kill compared to what it used to be. And I feel overall the card is like meh. Even the signature, the main ability, because armor is not as good as it used to be. So giving everything armor. I mean, if you play Treant on the first lane. On the first on the flop, if you abandon that lane completely, it's most likely going to be like a filled up lane of creeps and Treant tickling the tower for like a long time. I mean, they're going to take like 7 turns or something to kill the tower. And you actually can just abandon that tower unless he starts playing stuff and filling it with other creeps. So Treant feels. I mean, if you look at Dota, for example, when the game starts, Treant hits like a truck. I mean, he hits really hard, and they gave him like two attack. Maybe because they wanted to balance around the fact that he gives armor and stuff. But the thing is, armor isn't that good anymore. If it was 1.0 and he did what he does, it would be different. I just feel that maybe what they consider the Treant is probably fine for now, like they put it. I feel that he should maybe have a little bit more attack, maybe, because if you just abandon him in the lane and the player has to play other cards on the other 2 lanes to counter that you're completely abandoning that lane, he's gonna take like 6 to 7 turns to take a lane down, and it shouldn't be. No hero that you leave abandoned should feel like a nuisance, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you abandon the lane with a hero in it, the hero should be able to. Other people will just say, yeah, but he can play other cards in it because he has a hero there. But I just feel that you're gonna start killing your own creeps sooner or later, because every turn you're gonna get a creep for sure. Yeah. And the hero just feels like boring to play against and boring to play with. And to me, that's like the biggest downside to the card is when a card is boring to play against but really fun to play with, it's okay-ish, at least for one of the sides. When it's boring for both sides, that's when you start to get a big problem, in my opinion. So yeah, they really, in my opinion, they have to do something about the card, although they consider it's fine for now. So I guess a lot of the people who voted and rated Treant probably don't have the same idea of the card as I do, because I remember like he was mostly 1s and 2s for me, because he's really boring. He's not a mean enemy. He's an overall miss. I avoid picking him. Either it's draft or making a constructed deck, and I feel that the only thing that he actually doesn't fail is the missed fantasy, because the abilities that he has is more or less what he does, or what he's supposed to do in the game as Dota. Okay, he spawns the Treants, which is something he doesn't do in the game, but like someone else said before, you don't have to make the heroes exact copies of what they are in Dota. They're 2 different games. They're just based on lore of the other. So they can spice stuff up.
His main function in Dota is like really not translatable, because he gets invisible, he heals, and then the rooting part is what could potentially be replicated, I guess.
Yeah.
In any case, man, I noticed something interesting is that this time around, or rather the previous post regarding the Green Hero review, when they gave us the Red Hero server results, they gave us the heroes that scored best in each category. And as you were talking, I was thinking, why didn't they give us the heroes that scored well as well? Like they just showed us the ones that missed, which is interesting. I wonder if there's a reason for that, or if it was simply like a lapse. So we don't get to know exactly which heroes actually hit the mark. I think let's not go into this, read into this too much, but I think it would be also nice to see which ones hit the mark. I wonder what people said in regards to which ones really hit the mark and which don't. In any case, wanted to let you guys know that this time around there's going to be the Blue Hero Discord discussion. You probably know that already, so head on to the Artifact Discord and let's talk about Blue Heroes this week.
Very, very busy Artifact Discord.
the very busy or relatively busy Artifact Discord, and do take the Black Hero survey so that Valve knows what people think about the Black Heroes in general. So I think with that out of the way, we'll try to discuss a little bit about blue, because I think blue is actually one of the most interesting colors to discuss in terms of its role in the game right now. Do you want to start off by picking a hero and talking about it?
Yeah, but before I pick the hero, just to reinforce what you're saying, in my opinion, blue is a really hard color, at least for me, because even if you try to balance, you know by heart that the cards need to be like weak stats wise, because that's how blue works. And then they have to you need to put all these crazy, insane abilities and stuff like that actually will push the card. So I normally don't play much blue, either draft and especially constructed. I mean, aside from when you played mono blue, because it was like the best deck. I normally don't draft blue. It's a color I really don't synergize with. So for me, talking about blue is hard. So if I start saying stuff that everyone goes like, man, this guy has no idea. Blue is not a color that I tend to play much. But we can start with Rubik. Rubik for me was like, if we look at a point of view as in a tier list, Rubik was like a B grade hero before he got the little tweak, and now he's like a god. He's like S tier right now. The way they change his signature card is so good. The way they change telekinesis to now be lane wide and being cross lane. So I feel that now everyone that plays blue will want to play at least Rubik. But then again, like I said, I don't play much blue. But I feel that if I had to splash blue in any deck, Rubik is probably the card that will be first in line, unless you're doing like a super specific deck where one of the other heroes is the missing piece. I feel that Rubik right now is the strongest control hero when it goes to blue. Might even, I don't want to say that he's stronger than Kana, because they both serve different purposes, but I think they're on par right now on power creep compared to the other blue heroes. What's your opinion on it?
I think with the changes made Rubik probably one of the best heroes in the game. I agree with you, and for the most part, I think telekinesis. I think both of the aspects that were changed actually significantly buffed them. Telekinesis, in particular, I think gives you such dominance over something like the mid lane. What happens now, and I also haven't played a lot with Rubik, but I think I've played enough to give an idea. And I think we probably will have to touch on the power level in constructed and draft separately, because blue just conceptually in draft right now is not the strongest. Even if you have a very good deck with a lot of clear and you kill a lot, you tend to struggle a lot to push damage and end the game. So blue often needs, if you will, blue feels like a support color in the sense that you still need to like have a sidekick to probably push things and end the game faster. But let's talk about Rubik. Yeah, you put a Rubik on the mid lane right now, and every second round you're going to be able to push a hero away from mid lane from your opponent. So that's the tactical implications of that are huge, because if you are deploying against a Rubik right now, it's super difficult to deploy properly. You have to deploy. Try to avoid deploying on the. If you're deploying into first or third lane, you want to avoid deploying. Close to the border of the lanes, because he can swap. All right, so he can pick up a melee creep and swap with a hero that you placed like on the rightmost slot on the first lane, for example. So he can deny you colors, he can deny you correct positioning, and the reach of visibility. It says that it's range 3, but actually once you start playing against him and you start realizing the actual implication of the range of telekinesis, he affects. From the mid lane, he affects a significant amount of the board. I think you could say he affects about 9 slots if you want to maximize the range, the theoretical range at least. Also, the ability gives him quick cast, which is huge, and something that also should not be ignored.
He's a combo god now.
Yeah, I think he's really good. So at least in draft, I've played him in draft, and I tried to. In draft, often mobility is a bit more difficult, and I think having a Rubik in draft is great because you can just push your dominance into the mid lane and then work from there, and that's often something that you might want to do. Of course, his body is not huge, okay? He's like a big creep, but he can affect the game in a very strong way, and I think in Constructed is going to be huge. And that ties in, the Constructed part also ties in a lot with Spell Steal, because the way that Spell Steal works right now, it's very cheap, and we've been seeing more and more. I think that's the general consensus, is that cheap spells are worth a lot in the game right now because of the changes made to mana pool and so on. So having a 1 mana spell that your opponent, for the most part, wants to dodge is really important. Okay, if your opponent is thinking about playing an Exorcism or whatever big spell, he might want to play a Chain Frost, a TOT, whatever, or even a cheap spell like Repel, for example. It's happened to me that I've tried to dodge or play around Spell Steal, and let me tell you that it's not very easy, okay? Unless your opponent's deck is like multiple colors, it can be quite hard to play around Spell Steal.
Well, it was easier when it was 3 mana, because that was the big issue. Mm-hmm. You were trying to play mind games with your opponent and try to Spell Steal. But the mana would be an issue, and now being 1 mana, it's like now it's so easy to play with Spell Steal. But
let me just say, I'm not saying this as a complaint. I think I really like what they've done with Rubik, because he makes you he has an impact in the game now, whereas before it was, I would say, much harder to he was decent, but his impact in the game was much lower. And now it's just much better. Also, Spell Steal costing 1 also works much better with Aghanim Sanctum and other mana refresh abilities as well. Yeah. So I think this is going to be, like you said, a hero to design around. So he's going to be like a high tier hero for blue. It's hard to make comparisons between him and Kana, because Kana has a very aggressive play style, and it just feels like it's a different type of strategy that you're working on when you're designing around these heroes.
Super control versus super aggro.
Kind of, yeah, in a sort of a way. Kana kind of wants you to play creeps, kind of wants you to have creep buffs, or maybe like Prelex or something like that, and wants to trample and hit face, and Rubik wants to control the board and play very reactive. So I think it's somewhat like a different type of playstyle, but as we know, because of the lane structure and so on, it is possible to try to be aggressive in one lane with Kana and try to be reactive in another lane with Rubik. Mm-hmm. So it will be interesting to see what people come up with Rubik in Constructed, for sure. But I think in draft overall, and Rubik represents that to some degree, it feels like blue is still lacking something. It's not to say that it's bad, it's just to say, if I make a red-black deck, I feel like I'm playing 2 strong colors, right? And if I'm playing blue-red, I know that red is going to have to do most of the heavy lifting, and blue is just going to be like a support color to pick off a specific hero or deny something in a specific time or something. It feels really like more a support color, which is not necessarily bad. It's just I think, difficult to balance blue, because since it has such a different identity in Constructed and Draft, it just becomes harder, right? I mean, red is just beefy and big, and that's what it does in both game modes. And blue is
Brawn and brains, right?
kind of. So it's interesting to me, but I do enjoy what they've been doing with Pierpont, with Vanessa, and all those things. I haven't been playing constructed at all. I've been playing draft, and not as much as I had previously. So I'm still on the fence. Exactly.
See, that's an issue, and we talked about this last time. And I wanted to, well, no, not last time. I talked with someone about this on the chat. And this is something that kind of annoys me a bit. To make a ladder in an early beta stage where people just want to play draft to raise their level instead of trying cards and decks and stuff. I think one purpose is destroying the other. I don't understand why we would have like a ladder this soon. Because I feel that a lot of people are like, nah, I need to play. I need to play draft because I need to raise my level.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, but I want to test this constructed deck, and they're like, yeah, maybe like in 1 hour or two when I finish playing like ladder and trying to climb the ladder. I don't understand why they would make. Because I know people cry about, oh, there's no ladder, so why should I even play? Blah blah blah. But I noticed after the patch where playing more draft would give you like an easier climb, and that annoys me a bit. And I've noticed that if you look at the constructed inside the game, the constructed text part where people are looking for someone to play, I don't want to say it's empty. It's not empty, but compared to what it used to be, now we have more players, and I feel that there's less people playing constructed.
Yeah, I've also been feeling like there should be kind of more players online. But that said, I was a bit disappointed about that. But it seems like there's quite a few players online right now. So we're recording this on Saturday. So at least on the weekend, it seems like the player count picks up. I mean, there was a wave yesterday. And obviously we don't know how big the waves are, but I struggled a lot to find constructed lobby games, particularly because I was trying to test lobby options, and personally I just kind of give up. Like I would just stand here waiting for a game for half an hour, and it's really just not worth it.
Yeah. We really need matchmaking, like any type. It doesn't even need to look at your rankings. Just make a constructed matchmaking. Because needing to, I mean, we're going back like to 2005 in World of Warcraft, where I needed to spam looking for a group in chat because I'm looking for group to do this dungeon. I mean, this is how I feel when I play constructed in Artifact 2.0. I need to spam for like 5 minutes. I'm looking for someone to play constructed, and like this hopeful soul will go like, okay, I can play. Because all the other 200 players are playing draft.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck in this weird spot right now where we know it's early beta and we know we're working on these things, but at the same time, like we kind of feel like they're necessary, but we want them to do other stuff. So like, I mean, they must have a huge to-do list right now, and it's obvious that those things are gonna come at some point. I cannot help but like. I cannot help but comment on the fact that I feel like there's less and less people watching, and despite the incoming waves, often I have the impression that the total player numbers in the game aren't really rising. And looking at other long haulers and other streamers, people that seem to be moving on, not specifying, but even like in the last week or two, a lot of people seem to have jumped boats to play other games, and it's a bit disheartening. Like having waited a year and a half, whatever, for the reboot, and now that we have our hands on it, to not see everyone like to see
crazy.
Yeah, to see that people are not like super hyped, and there's not like a lot of anticipation, and it feels like there's mixed opinions everywhere, Discord, Reddit, etc. Has been a bit of a ride, right? And in some ways, I'm not gonna lie, like the people that I used to play a lot with during the long haul, a lot of them are not in the game anymore, so you kind of miss that feeling of community, and that's maybe where getting the tournament modes or maybe getting constructed queues maybe would help a little bit.
Yeah, it's also we sometimes forget because of the COVID, the Corona issue.
Yeah.
But it's July and people have vacations and stuff like that, and that also has impact.
And they might be working from home still. Valve, for all we know, they might still be working remotely. So
Yeah, so all those things affect the number of people playing or the number of people watching. So yeah, I also noticed that we used to have like 200 people on Twitch, and now you don't see that number of people watching. So there's probably a lot of factors to it, not just.
Shall we do another hero and then maybe call it for a day? Do you wanna pick another one, or should I? Or
I'll tell you one, and you tell me if you want to talk about it. Okay, this is going to be a weird pick. It's a hero that did not change a single thing. Well, his stats changed because they crunched it, right? But the hero is Venomancer. I feel Venomancer with the lane, the like only being able to have 5 slots per lane, being the exact same card as he was, hurts him a lot. I feel that the card, well, he was never like a super good card on 1.0, but he pulled his weight. And I feel that now, because you can't have like infinite words spawning if you like abandon the lane and stuff like that. I feel that he's like in a really bad position. Only being able to have 5 slots per lane and him having his stats crunched. I don't know. He's one of those cards that I really liked, even knowing that he wasn't like super good. And now I just feel that he got hurt so much with the stats crunching and being the exact same card that he was before. I mean, if you look at Soul Venom, it costs 4, and for what it does, it just doesn't feel that good, and it feels really expensive.
All right, I think I can comment a lot on the problems that that affect Venom. Venom was used specifically for a reason in Mono Blue, and that was to prevent or to face the Mono Red matchup where you want to have a constant stream of blockers to chump block those beefy dudes. So the main specific role of Venomancer in 1.0 Artifact was to play Mono Blue, to stall the board and stall as much as possible, and maybe get the occasional upkeep kill, and maybe help the Eclipses a little bit, and help the Thunder God's Wraths a little bit to deal with the opponent's board. The main problem is, and regardless of his stats and so on, is for one part, his passive ability of generating Plague Wards, he is obviously nerfed by the fact that the board is limited. Okay, so if you deploy a hero, you have a melee creep, there's 3 slots left, meaning that on one hand, if you play his card, you'll have the board completely full, which is good. But his passive loses strength because he cannot keep growing the board sideways. So in a way, it's similar to what I said to the tree. The second problem is, like I said, that his role in Constructed was to chump block, and his Plague Wards were given Feeble. So the fact that the Plague Wards have Feeble now means that if you play, if you're trying to chump block a Debbie, or if you're trying to chump block whatever big hero it is, it's just missing the mark. So basically what that does is that like his role becomes like an upkeep kill role, and his wards are not pushing damage either. So you're playing a hero that is defensive in nature, and his defensive capability was severely nerfed because of the Feeble, and he cannot go wide anymore. And so it makes him even more niche. He was already niche, now he's even more niche, and he's basically, the main role that I see for him is right now is to play him in an upkeep deck.
Even so, I mean, you wanted a chump block, you'd play Sylvenom, and you'd get 2 blocks. Now they're useless. If you want to play around upkeep kills, if you play something like Sylvenom at the end of the turn, it's probably still going to die because now they're easier to kill compared to what they used to be. So I just feel that he went from, like you said, a niche to mostly unplayable, at least from the decks that I've tried with blue. And they haven't been that many because I'm not a blue player. But from all the things that why would I put Veno when I can put other cards that are more?
Yeah, it's the same way that we talked about Sarla like last week, and we said that her card was super good because it gives small units feeble. Veno already kind of has that incorporated into his own design, so I feel like it was a severe nerf to give the words feeble. And I do understand that it might be frustrating to play against a hero whose main goal is to chump block. But at the same time, like, I mean, you want to have defensive heroes and you want to have offensive heroes. It feels like this hero is probably going to be, for the most part, a miss. But I mean, we'll get the results of the blue survey in a couple of weeks, and then we will know. But yeah, I just feel like maybe is another hero who could use a rework. Maybe, maybe make his card be like AoE decay like his ult is in Dota. Maybe change it around, or maybe just take away the feeble if they feel like players will dislike the constant chump blocking effect. I don't know, but there are other heroes that already do that, like PL. So right, I mean, PL is like a really good defensive / offensive hero right now, whereas he's red. So it's kind of awkward that Venomancer cannot do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it strikes me as a little bit odd, and yeah, I'm for the most part at a loss as to exactly what to suggest in terms of reworks, because I just don't have enough information and I haven't dedicated enough thought to it. But it would be interesting to see them think about something else for this guy.
Well, he needs to get a cool factor. he needs to be. I think he needs. I don't want to say completely reworked, because I like the concept of the plague wards. They're cool. The concept is cool.
It would be cool if maybe the wards at least could deal tower damage if they're not hitting anything. You know what I mean? Because at least if you could manage to fill a lane up with plague wards and there's nothing to kill besides a melee creep, at least if the plague wards would be hitting the tower, because Veno is a really good pusher in Dota.
Maybe they should always do, like, the damage that they do should be piercing damage. Always.
The wards are piercing damage.
No, that's the 2 damage that they do. I mean, when they hit.
Oh, you mean the attack?
Yeah, they should be piercing damage, because if you play well, at least they would be better on towers. Because sometimes when you have like armor and towers and stuff like that, at least they would be impactful. If you abandon a lane with Veno, like I said before, if you abandon a lane with a hero, in a way, he should never not feel menacing to be left alone.
Sure.
If they were doing like 1 piercing damage to the tower, maybe it would be at least interesting. Because if you have plague wards and you leave Venomancer alone, if you're able to put 1 armor in your tower, they're just gonna be boring to hit the tower like that.
All right. So I think, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to touch on. We're, for the most part, trying to keep the episodes relatively short right now until we get big Moon Days posts or big patches again. This obviously has been a 4-week sequence of just discussing the colors, and we'll see what we'll get from there on. But yeah, would you like to touch on anything else for today, or shall we call it today?
I think we can wrap it up, as we touched a bit on the blue, and I think a lot of people should give their feedbacks on all the heroes, and I just hope that what's boring and underpowered should be like really buffed. Like you said, if everything's OP, nothing is OP, and I'd rather have like 50 heroes all OP and being fun to play, and not just have those like 10 silver lining gods and the rest being boring cards.
Yeah. All right, so I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy our content, we'd be super happy if you join our Discord, if you like and subscribe. And otherwise, yeah, I hope you are still, all motivated to long haul. It's going to be a while. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next week again. Cheers.
See you guys next week.